What was Sadiq Khan avoiding when he said there are no reported cases or indication of rape gangs in London?
This important interruption is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your money and your identity. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code here to get ExpressVPN right now and save up to 73% on annual plans today. Right, let's get back into it.
Now, I'd like to go on to people that are victims of these rape gangs that I will keep going on, and I will continue, Mr. Mayor, until something happens about this. You've made previous assertions that London does not have the same type of grooming gangs. Are you sure that we do not have the same gangs like the rest of the country?
Joe, that's not quite what I've said. What I've said is echoing the words of the Commissioner now, and the Assistant Commissioner, I think Matt Twist, on previous occasions. They've both explained that there are serious issues in relation to child sexual exploitation.
Yes, yet another heated exchange between London Mayor Sadiq Khan and Susan Hall. The Mayor of London has infamously been rattled and seemingly evasive and angry whenever he's been asked about the existence of rape gangs in London. In fact, this year in June, he said this: "My understanding from speaking to the police," and he's referring to Susan Hall here, "will appreciate I have done on a regular basis is, and I choose my words carefully for the reasons she will understand, there are no reported cases and also no indication of the grooming gangs that she is concerned about in London." Well, I think some of the whistleblowers might disagree with you there, Mr. Mayor. But on your terms, no rape gangs back in June this year. So that makes London a total anomaly. It doesn't make sense, does it? Because maybe it's all to do with London is open and diversity is our strength. Maybe those vacuous words kept the rape gangs away. The reality is that these words are more like an air freshener in a public toilet, masking serious cultural problems that have been imported and ignored or even downplayed in the name of diversity, haven't they? It's now well documented that the Mayor has dodged multiple questions on this issue, dating back years ago. Here's one from June 2020.
Are you looking in London for grooming gangs in London in order to prosecute people? Because if it's going on in cities like Oxford and Bristol and Peterborough and Aylesbury, smaller places, it's surely going on in London as well on a large scale.
Can I just be clear, Chair? Is the inference that because of my faith or my ethnic origin, I'm not seeking to follow these crimes?
No, I'm asking you because you're the Police and Crime Commissioner.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it? Why was there no inquiry set up, Mr. Mayor? Why are you so determined to criticise the previous government's what you would call woeful failure to act on recommendations from the previous inquiry? Why did you previously suggest there were no rape gangs in London, only now to claim that you've directed the Met Police to look back at 9,000 cases? Why did you only decide to act almost 9 months after a national inquiry was announced? It doesn't add up, does it? Because it's not the first time he's been asked it, as we've just shown here on this show. Met Detective John Wedger would have said, and he's exposed the horror earlier this year himself. He said children aged 9 to 14 are being trafficked on an industrial scale in London. He reported that there are networks across London, only when he did report them to say he was stonewalled and threatened with losing his home, his job and his kids if he spoke out, apparently by a senior officer in the Met Police. With all of this evidence, with all of the survivors and whistleblowers that have spoken out, with a nationwide scandal being exposed time and time again, is it any surprise that now many believe Sadiq Khan seems to have lost all credibility on this issue?
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GBNews viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 73% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 73% off ExpressVPN plus 4 extra months free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
Well, I'm very pleased to say, and I'm joined by the leader of London Conservatives in the London Assembly, Susan Hall herself. Susan, thank you so much for joining me again this evening. I watched your interaction with the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. I'm still baffled. It seems to me there's always a deflection. There's never ownership to say, we should have looked at this earlier, you're right, we failed some Londoners, we need to do better. Why is that, Susan Hall?
Well, I don't know. And you've got my colleague, Sean Bailey, there as well. I mean, he won't answer any questions. But I mean, if he thinks I'm going to drop this, he can have another thing coming, because we have got to keep this alive out there. I think in the past, people have shied away. The first clip, the clip you played, I was actually in that meeting there, looking a lot younger, I'm afraid, but it was quite some time ago. And of course, all that he used to do then was saying, oh, is it because I'm Muslim? Is it my faith? And people tended to back away a bit because politicians are always worried about being called racist. Yeah. But things have changed, Alex, thank God. Now, lots of us don't care what they say because, I mean, I'm called far right because I wave a flag or whatever. It's nonsense. And I tell you what, for the sake of these girls and sometimes boys, we've just got to keep at this. Suddenly now he's saying he's going to leave no stone unturned. What a load of rubbish. Absolute rubbish from this mayor. He knew damn well what I was talking about last January when that famous clip went viral with him saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Can the member explain what she means? He knew damn well what I meant.
Yes,
this is absolutely disgraceful, Alex.
It is. And Susan, what's so frustrating for members of the public, not just Londoners, but people watching all over the country, they will see, and we've spoke about grooming gangs for so many years in Britain now, and what's infuriated people is this lack of acknowledgement for that somehow London is an island, this paradise where these grooming gangs aren't taking place, or in some other form, as I think the Mayor has said before, quoted the Met from saying before. It just seems to me that many Londoners and maybe many British people, that there's something that is hidden away here. Why is it that so many politicians don't want to touch this issue?
Well, I don't know. And the police as well, which has really upset me because I'm a massive police supporter. But some of the stories from the girls are horrendous. And unfortunately, a lot of the girls are saying when they went to the police weren't actually dealing with the men. They were calling the girls out. And I've heard this from so many different girls. So why were the police doing that? It doesn't make sense. But we've got to get to the bottom of this. And I will not leave it alone because somebody's got to champion these poor girls and boys. I mean, some of them, not all of them, have just been brought up in care. They've had nobody around them to really love them and look after them. And you could literally cry when you hear their stories because no human being should go through what these poor girls are going through. So people like myself and Maggie and Charlie on your channel, we'll all keep going because this has got to be sorted.
I absolutely agree. Thank you so much for joining me, Susan Hall, leader of the London Conservatives and the London Assembly. Keep up the good work there, Susan. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. Reform UK candidate Orla Minahane, Conservative peer Lord Bailey, and former Labour advisor Matthew Larser. Matthew, I'll start with you. Many people up and down the country say the same thing over and over again when we talk about this issue, is that Labour has a problem talking about grooming gangs and directly challenging what's happened in our country. Do you agree with that comment?
No, I don't agree with that, although I think that the Mayor needs to stop being, used to be careful. He doesn't come across as too clever by half. Clearly, he needs to realise that this is an issue that he has responsibility for as Mayor, and not because of any questions about his faith. I sort of semi-agree with him in that, from what the police say, the pattern is different in London in the most part. Now, they are investigating, or they think there are, in the words of the police commissioner, tens of cases that they think fit the sort of live cases which fit the definition of grooming gangs. But there are more issues around county lines, etc., is what he's talking about. But he needs to, I think the Mayor generally needs to just sort of take a chill pill. He may not like his opponents, but we often don't like our opponents. We like our opponents on this sofa, but he needs to take a lesson from our book and have a more civilised discussion. Because as somebody who lives in London, I think the tone is a bit off. I think there is sometimes there's quite a lot on what he says, and I think there is stuff in what he says around the specific nature of the problem in London. You shouldn't belittle that problem by making it all about the hostility to those who are asking questions.
Lord Bailey, Susan Hall, infamous for these fights with Sadiq Khan on this issue. She's obviously had that massive bust up with him that went viral not that long ago. This keeps on recurring. Why is it that people feel that London is an island here? What is it that makes London so different to these other communities around the country? Or are we just using political lingo to get around calling it what it actually is?
Let's be clear, it's only the Mayor who thinks London's an island. Let's be very clear. Actually, I think London is one of the places we really should have a look. Historically, the Metropolitan Police have struggled with child protection in London. And with knowledge of that situation means we should look harder. We should have been first. And when the Mayor was questioned in the first instance, he knew how much we'd struggled. Yes, the police have greatly improved that situation, but it gave us a real opportunity to have missed something. And because we have the biggest community of almost everything in London, there's so many of us, there's just a statistical reality that we're likely to have it going, and he should go. But the real place where the Mayor failed for me is when he tried to make it about race. It is not about race. It is about the welfare of young people in London, and he should have borne that in mind rather than trying to be clever.
Orla, what do you think? You're a Reform Party candidate. Do you think that part of the reason that Reform itself is doing so well in the polls is because people don't feel like these issues that have been bubbling for decades now have been addressed by both major parties?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, I agree with absolutely with what Sean says. Susan Hall is an absolute legend, and she is a thorn in Sadiq Khan's side, and you can see the animosity he has towards her because she will not let it go, and she's relentless in her pursuit for the truth, and that is absolutely correct. She's a grandmother herself, and she has taken time to speak to these girls and boys and find out the truth. But you're absolutely right. I think the failure to deal with this over decades, and the stories that have come out, the stories that have been brushed under the carpet, the awful things that these girls mainly have been through are absolutely heartbreaking. It's an absolute stain on our country. And the fact that it hasn't been dealt with fully, transparently, and there hasn't been repercussions, and it's still going on. So for people to say it's not happening in London, how can it be happening in Oxford and Peterborough and all this, and not in the biggest metropolis, one of the biggest metropolises in Europe? It's absolute madness.
There's a deeper thing as well. One of the real pains about this whole story is the culpability of councillors and police officers, and that alone means that we should look in London. Now, we could have a clean slate. I doubt that, but we could have a clean slate. But reminding our professionals of their duties, giving them the support they have so they don't need to fear, they do feel like they can step up and say what needs to be said, is very important. And that's something that the Mayor completely overlooks. And I think that's wrong. That builds a risk that it could happen again because people are in fear of their jobs. And one of the things I notice in London when you deal with police officers, they will regularly tell you they think twice before they take any action because they're in fear of their career.
Isn't that awful?
Yeah, it is.
Well, John Wedge is a famous whistleblower that, makes that exact claim that he'd lose his job, his kids, his house, all these things. That's the claim he makes.
The Mayor should have asked for his investigation and sent the message, I'm here to support you. If you're doing the right thing, whistleblowing, supporting young people, supporting any community in London, I will support you. And that's another failing on his part.
Yeah, Matt, I'll come back to you on this one because it does feel to many people that Labour as a party are pandering for votes to certain communities that may be disproportionately represented. The Pakistani community is one of those communities. Do you think that what is the way that Labour tackles that narrative? What is the way it does that? Because you've launched a national grooming gang inquiry. Exactly. London is massive. It could be more cases in London as a city than everywhere else combined, for all we know. Surely, when you've got such a massive scale of people, you need to have an independent inquiry just into the capital, right?
Well, I mean, I think the government is doing the right thing by having the national inquiry. I think Shabana Mahmood, as Home Secretary, who herself happens to be Muslim, has been more robust than her immediate predecessors of both parties on this issue. And I think that the Mayor needs to take a leaf out of Shabana's book and say that no stone must be left unturned. London clearly isn't an island. I think it's perfectly legitimate to say there are different circumstances in London, that the variety of different ethnic groups in London means that it's a more complex picture, etc. It's fine to say that, but it's not fine to pretend that questions don't need to be asked and that answers shouldn't be out there. So I think that the Mayor needs to take a leaf out of the national government's book, and I hope that the national government will tell the Mayor that he can't make London an island in terms of serious questions not being asked.
Sadiq Khan is the police and crime commissioner for London. If there's found to be any cover-ups during his period in office, should the buck stop with him? Well,
the buck must stop with him. I hope there haven't been any cover-ups. But of course, he must take responsibility.
The other thing to say as well, London has a deep, dark history of county lines, and that would suggest that we really do have something to look for, because we have been very involved in trafficking young people to and fro, mainly around drug dealing. But the mechanism, the criminal mechanism,
he does say
is
that
there.
he thinks the county lines is an issue.
But he didn't say that when he was asked the first time. What he said was, "What are you trying to accuse me of?" That's the difference.
Can I
He's so competent.
Very briefly, last comment.
When are we going to, as a government, as a country, start holding people to account and doing something? Doing something. We talk and we talk, we talk. We have, this investigation and that investigation. Let's do something, for goodness sake. At some point, heads need to roll correctly.
Totally agree with all of you. Listen, thank you, panel.